What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm super excited to get this transmission back together and get this Wavetrac differential in here. But before I do that, I've got to get these speed sensors situated. By that I mean I still have to get this speed sensor mounted into the transmission. It's got this little tab on it, or it's supposed to have a little tab that fits into this little slot that actually locks it into place. So I've got to fabricate my own little tab to get that to lock into place. I also have to get this digital speed sensor mounted, and to do that I'm going to have to use this step drill bit to actually get the big hole for the sensor to actually go into the transmission. Then I got to use this drill and tap, put the mounting bolt hole into the transmission. The sensor is supposed to go in right here, and I have to drill out my own hole for the sensor to go in, and then I need to drill and tap a hole right here for the bolt hole. And I need to get this one where it's permanently mounted. It goes into this housing right here, into the bell housing, and it's going to go in right there. And what I need to fabricate is a little tab, a tab that slides into that little notch, and I'll be able to bolt that tab down, and that will actually lock that sensor into place. So yeah, let's get both of these speed sensors mounted into the transmission and get into installing this Wavetrac differential. There's quite a few things that I'd like to get done to this engine before we actually get it into the CRX. I think I might just leave that as a little bit of a surprise. We're working on the top, the bottom, and everything in between. Back at it like a Honda addict. Finish cleaning this right here. Alright, so I got a little extension and we kind of like scrubbed it out as good as we can. Now we just threw some rocks and some of that sandblasting sand up in there, and we're just shaking it around and kind of breaking all that stuff loose. Seeing if we can kind of break that loose, because there was still a little bit of corrosion that we couldn't really get to with this thing. Let's see if we can break it loose with this and then wash it out real good. We're just about ready to get the transmission all put back together, but before we do that, we need to get this differential taken apart and get everything switched over to the new differential. Bust into this box here and see what we got. There she is. Alright, so we're going to try to get that gear on here. So I had this sitting in the freezer. Hopefully this will just fall down on there. Oh, there it goes. Got the gear completely flush down onto the differential now. The next thing I need to do is go ahead and put these two gears on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Yeah, I think the bearings are on there flush all the way. Everything feels pretty good. think that's what it's supposed to look like, guys. Alrighty, so we finally got the transmission all put back together. I got her wiped down, and I went ahead and put the sensor in here. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to touch the gear inside the transmission. You want to make sure that there's the perfect little gap in between the sensor and the gear. So I have this little spacer, like a little beauty washer, one of those little dress-up beauty washers. I've got it just underneath the sensor, and what that does is make sure that the sensor is not touching the gear, but it's also close enough to the gear for the sensor to actually pick up a reading. I also threw in this sensor right here, and everything seems to be spinning really smoothly. Goes through all the gears. If I turn this shaft right here, if you look down in there, you can actually see that turning. We got the Wavetrac in the transmission, and everything's ready to go with that. Alright guys, so we're about to try to tear into this motor right now. It literally broke off. Why do I have to have all the problems like that? Everything. So as you can see here, I messed up every single one of my valve seals, and that's mainly because I was just trying to use the wrong thing to install it with. I was going with my longer sockets here, and I've got an 11 as my smallest, and I really should have been using like a 10. Luckily I did hunt down a long 10mm socket. A 3/8 is a little bit smaller than a 10mm, and it actually fits on there just snug perfect. Like, it just snap fits on there. Whenever I was beating on that valve seal, I actually beat the valve guide into the head a little bit. But just judging by how deep the valve guide actually would have to go to interfere with the valve sealing or anything like that, I think we'll be okay. I guess what I'm going to do is just kind of continue on with what I'm doing. Just continue replacing all the valve seals. So you can actually see where the valve guide got pushed down a little bit further. if you look really close right here, well, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it on screen, but if you look really close in there, one of the valve guides is a little bit lower than the other one. What do you guys think? What's the most that it could affect? So there's our TSX oil pump with the balancing shafts, and we'll be replacing that with this K20 Type S, or the K20A2 oil pump out of a RSX Type S. This is our E14 socket. 14, 15, 20. It broke at 20 foot-pounds. And then it went to 49 through the turn, then drops. 55 if you break it fast. The tang is on the exhaust side, facing the front of the motor. 45, 45. So they're all between 45 and 50. Definitely a little bit of a stopping point. We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to gap these rings and go ahead and start whipping everything back together. But that'll probably be in the next episode, so hope you guys stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace out.